Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. When you're going through things, whether it's emotionally, physically, we all have something that we need to heal from, but you don't always necessarily need to pop a med to heal from it. How about energy healing? It's a thing that's been going on for centuries. This is part of how we healed back in the day, and it still works. And we're going to give you an example of how sound healing works, sound therapy, if you will. And she's got a wonderful center that practices that, spiritual readings, Reiki, foot detox, massage, and that's just a piece of it there at Stardust, Blessings, Metaphysical, and they also have a great social profile as well with Stardust, Blessings Social. Michele Scalpi joins us on the program. She's the woman behind it. Welcome. How you doing today?
Good. How are you today?
Good, good. Now, you guys are located in Orange, Connecticut, but you can do this for anybody virtually. Now, before we even begin, I'm just going to say that we would love to demonstrate how the sound works and what it sounds like, because Zoom filters to make sure the voice is as clear as possible. A lot of times it doesn't allow music to be heard clearly. So unfortunately, we can't give you examples of that. I wish we could. We tried it, just not working, but we can talk about it. And let's go into what's actually going on, Michele, when you produce sound, i.e., would you call it music? Is it also music?
It could be considered a music, but it's frequencies. You're playing around with frequencies. Like Tesla said, everything is energy and everything is a frequency. So in order to, heal certain things in the body, your body is already tuned to certain frequencies when it comes into this world. So they get off balance. When you have a negative frequency or a negative energy, it's not that they're like, for instance, we have a 432 bowl. There's no such thing as a negative 432. So when you have a negative energy or negative frequency, it's not so much that it's actually a negative number as much as it is a lack of that frequency. So if you're supposed to be vibrating at 432, which that's the natural vibration of the earth and is very good for our biosphere. And if you have blockages that are blocking that energy from coming up through your chakras and purifying your chakras, because that's what 432 does, and you have the blockages, so you get a lack of it. And you're not getting that purification. Like when you do grounding and things like that, you get out onto the earth and you put your feet on the earth, and you're supposed to be, your energy goes into toroidal, up around 6 feet under. So it goes underneath you and it goes to the earth, and your energy purifies in the soil and it comes back up through your chakra system and then releases through the crown again. So if you have a blockage there, then it will stop it. It causes a lack of the frequency going through purifying your body. And you have all your organs have a frequency, and that's what feeds your organs from your chakra system.
So I want to make sure I heard this clear, because I've always wondered and had nobody to answer this question, but I'm just going to reiterate what you said. When we're feeling down, and I guess the best description is you walk in, just to better demonstrate this for those who think it's woo-woo. You walk into a party and it just feels like, like kind of down, just not feeling good. And you're thinking to yourself, you know what? Let me just tell him I got a text and I got to leave earlier than I expected. And then there are events you go to. It's like, wow, just feels good, man. Let me get a little beverage there and hang out and talk to some people. Is it that it's the collective energy of the people in the room, the higher vibration, and that's why you're feeling good versus the lower vibration of the other party?
Absolutely. And the lower vibration is actually just a lack of frequency.
That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. I wanted to demonstrate so we're on the page here, but it's not, okay, the lower vibration situation, it's not because the vibrations are so low. I'm hearing from you, we're lacking the higher vibrations, and that's what makes it feel heavy.
Yes. And people confuse that when they talk about even paranormal things and stuff like that. Like I do paranormal work and I do very effective paranormal work. because I use sound tools to clear out energy, clear out houses, and things like that. And it's extremely effective, and it's much faster than most other paranormal equipment can actually do.
Wow.
Because once you raise the vibration and apply the frequency, the anything that's in there that is lacking it can't be. Two frequencies can't occupy the same space. So if you have two frequencies, the only frequencies, I have to take that back, because Tesla realized that with the master solfeggio frequencies, and there was six master frequencies, and there was two, two, and two frequencies that if you played them together, they created actually a third sound. But they're the only frequencies that do that. That's kind of off onto another subject. It gets more in depth of sound therapy. Like, I offer that kind of sound therapy too, which
So
is
unfortunately, like we said, we can't hear what this sounds like. Um, but when you play a sound bowl and you do a sound healing, how is that working? Like, for example, are you setting an intention? Let's say somebody's going through some medical stuff. Are you setting an intention for the right frequency to come out of the bowl? How does that work?
you are using your frequency to direct the energy and direct the frequency of the bowl. If I'm focused, I when I start a sound therapy, I always come into my room. I play all the bowls. I make sure that I'm not off. There's nothing in the room that's off, and everything is vibrating properly. So once I bring the person in, I know that it's them that's throwing something off, and not something in me or something in the room that's throwing anything off. So then when I begin to work on them, if I find a block, or um, just their frequency is off, it might be weak. Sometimes you can literally hear their chakras dragging the sound out of the bowl, where you play the bowl and normally it would resonate, and you'll hear it just like fade out really quick. And it's because your chakra is like, oh yes, that's what I need, that's what I need. And you just keep playing it over and over again, and just like water over a stone that wears it down, you're applying that frequency in until it sticks. When the frequency actually starts to resonate with the chakra, that's what you'll hear in the bowl, because the bowl starts to resonate, and it's literally your frequency playing the bowl at that point, where I barely have to touch the bowl, and there's a beautiful hum to the bowl when everything goes into tune and to alignment.
How do you know that it's needed? Are you picking up from that person that they have negative, call it vibration?
You can hear it in the bowl. You can hear it immediately in the bowl, which is what I love. I do energy work as well. So I do pick up on things on my own intuition. But when you work with bowls, I love it because it's tangible. You can literally hear. I've had bowls sound like nails on a chalkboard. They're the most beautiful bowls. I have like the highest quality bowls you can get. And I've hit a bowl around somebody before, and it sounds like nails on a chalkboard. And there's certain bowls that are more fragile than others, and we have to put those down and get a thicker bowl to start wearing that frequency down. That's usually when there's a blockage, and a long-term blockage, that happens.
Okay, now I've never heard this before. So you're saying, Michelle, that you've got somebody you're going to do sound healing on. They've got some stuff going on. You go to play the bowl. It doesn't sound right because of their energy at that moment.
Yes.
Wow.
And you can hear the more you do. Some people can hear it naturally. And like, I do sound therapy on Patreon. It's $10 a month. We do it every Monday night. We do guided meditations with sound. And my people that are on there are starting to hear the differences in the bowls. They can hear it when it goes into alignment. It's just a matter of being around the bowls long enough, and them hearing me. Did you hear that go in? Did you hear that go in? So they're starting to focus more on the sound, and they can actually hear it now. When I started doing sound, I did it for free for a very long time, until I had hundreds of people under my belt, so I could see the patterns and hear the patterns in the bowls.
I'm blown away. I've talked to people that do what you do. I've never heard that before, where you play something, but because of their energy, it sounds off. Now, as you continue to play, does it start coming back into, I guess my best description in word would be in tune?
Yes. Yep. As I start to apply the frequency, and sometimes I have to switch bowls. Sometimes I switch over to Tibetan bowls. Tibetan bowls are very powerful, and they can't break. I had a very thin bowl, like a medicinal bowl, which is very thin and it works more on the emotional body. But those are very thin and very fragile. And I've had one pop in my hand while I was working on somebody. And that's kind of when I first started. And I was kind of upset because that was my first really nice set of bowls. And I had a throat chakra bowl pop right in my hand from somebody's block. And I've had my crystal forks just pop in the middle of a session.
Oh my
Now,
gosh.
now I've been doing it years, so I know the sounds and to stay away from those bowls until I get things in check.
I'm I'm no words. Like I just like I can't believe that the energy of somebody can impede what you're doing. It's almost as if that old school, the opera singer is singing and a glass shatters.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what happens. I'm trying to apply a frequency and they're putting off such a strong frequency, that is opposed to my frequency, that the frequency that's supposed to be there, that it causes that shatter in the glass. It's like throwing a rock at a window.
Well, okay, so let's for better understanding for everybody. I get it, but here we go. The opera singer, when and I've heard that this is real, it can happen. When that person is singing, their voice is sending out a vibration.
Yes.
It's what
Yes.
and what is energy? Vibration.
Yeah.
So reasonable to understand that if somebody's vibration coming off of them isn't right, you go to play, it's not matching, thin bowl,
Yep.
shatter.
Yeah. Exactly.
My gosh.
We started learning. I study frequency constantly, and I work a lot with orgone technology, which was Dr. Wilhelm Reich. That's how I got started in all of this was Tesla and Reich. And so I create these orgone generators, and I actually tune crystals and then place them in orgone. And I've tuned them to high frequencies, put them into orgone into a glass container, and the glass is shattered. It can't take the vibration very long, but it's just like an experiment that I know that is working. So we've done it on purpose to make the glass shatter.
So cool. Uh, how are you beginning a session? Somebody comes before you. Do they tell you what they got going on? What is going on there? And I've heard, correct me if I'm wrong, this is what I've heard, that the sound healer puts an intent into what they play. Because how do you know what bowl to go to next? Where are you going here? You're just using I guess your energy intuition to know how to play, what to play, and to focus on it getting its job done with the client. That's what I understand. Change that, validate it, walk us through it.
Well, I like to go in cold, so I don't like to really know anything. If somebody calls and asks about it, I explain sound therapy to them, but I do explain to them that don't tell me a lot of what's going on. Let me go in cold and let me see your energy. Um, I do keep like an hour in between my sound therapies. I won't do like an hour and then go right into another session with somebody else. And I leave it that way because I will never leave somebody with blockages. And it has taken well over an hour to remove people's blockages before. So I always keep that extra time in my appointments. I like the equipment that I have now, as opposed to when I started sound therapy, is very, very extensive. And I've learned a lot of new ways to break up blockages that I didn't know before. So gongs have been incorporated in. I have drums incorporated. The Tibetan bowls have been. Last year, I really started learning the Tibetan bowls a lot more.
Mm.
Did not realize how much more powerful they were as far as breaking up blockages. We use bells. And then, of course, we have the bowls. I have tuning forks, both metal and crystal. So it depends. I use my intuition as to what I need to remove the block, but I always generally, for a regular sound therapy session with me, I usually do chakra alignments. That's what everybody wants. And I start at the root chakra and push the energy. There are times when I can already feel a block. Say I feel a block in the crown, I'll clear the crown before I start in the root.
Hmm.
So that does I use my intuition that way, but in general, I always go through all the chakras, and you can always tell. So, if there's certain two chakras that are like a throat chakra and a solar plexus, is usually somebody is very oppressed and they can't speak. They have a hard time speaking up for themselves. So it depends which chakras are off. You can kind of tell what's going on with the energy. Where my intuition comes in, a lot of times it is so crazy, and I've tuned over 1,000 people over
Wow.
probably the last 6-7 years since we got the brick and mortar and went public with everything. I've done about, it's probably up around 1,200 people I've tuned, and you start to notice the patterns, but my intuition got stronger and stronger as I was working with them. And the universe seems to send me people that have things in common with me a lot. So I go in cold with people. I see things just through my intuition while I'm working on them, and it gets brought up at the end of the session. And I usually go over everything at the end of the session, what chakras are off, how to keep them balanced. Um, when we opened Stardust Blessings, it was opened as a community center first and foremost. And I wanted to be able to teach people how to keep their chakras aligned and how to manifest and do things like that. So that was the original
Wow.
goal of that.
Wow. Had no idea that you've done this for so many people, first of all.
Yeah.
Um, Tibetan bowl, what's the difference? Can you show us one? What's going on?
So this is the Tibetan bowl.
Okay.
So it's a hammered metal bowl. They're usually made. This one's brass. They're usually a brass, and they're just a very. When you hit these, the wave that they send is just way more powerful than the crystal bowls. Like if you
Let's,
did.
let's try it. I know we have problems getting the
Okay.
sound through Zoom, but I'm curious. I don't
Okay.
know. Let's see if
Okay.
we've tried the glass, or let's try the metal.
Okay. That you can
That
hear.
that I can hear.
Yeah. These are
Wow.
very, very, very powerful. And when these work more on the physical body too than they do on the spiritual, emotional state and energetic state. So you can this one I use for solar plexus, and if you lay this on the middle of the back or over the solar plexus in the front, which is over your stomach, and you hit this, it sends such a vibration into the solar plexus that like I could take my crystal bowls and then immediately tune that.
Wow. Wow. Do you need to be in person? We could do this virtually. You said you do this on Facebook.
We do it on Patreon.
Okay.
It's Stardust Social on Patreon, and we do it every Monday night. And we started doing it because I used to do free ones on TikTok Live, and everybody liked it so much, but it wasn't like in my schedule, so it was very random when I did it, and then people would miss it and be upset. So we decided to do it every Monday night, and I made a commitment to do it every Monday night. They pay $10 a month. We made it really cheap, so everybody they're getting 4 sessions. Plus, we do guided meditations, and it's usually about 2 hours.
So a guided meditation, pretty obvious. You guide the meditation. Maybe there's an intent that you begin with, and we all do the same thing. When it comes to you doing a sound healing for an audience, how can that work and be personalized? That makes sense?
Yes, I didn't think it was going to work in the beginning. And as I was doing the lives on TikTok, people were being affected by it. And I noticed when I was doing these lives on TikTok that in my mind's eye, I was seeing like a circle of people. And it's not that you're seeing their faces, it's just like a circle of light beings, kind of light bodies sitting there. And so if I'm in a room and I play the bowl, and it's you can hear the sound go around the bowl, and if people are sitting there I can hear it go off as it's going around the room, because that sound is expanding right to the circle. So I can literally, when they're in the room with me, I can look over at somebody and say it's going off over here, and I can direct the sound more to them. So what I realized I was doing when I was doing it on the lives is I was picturing the circle of people, and I could listen to the bowl and I could tell if somebody was off. And sometimes it's multiple people, and you can hear that same horrible sound in the bowl, which they're learning to pick up on that now too when somebody's off. And they definitely, even if nobody has a bad blockage because they're coming on there every week now, they're still hearing the difference when I do bowls in the beginning of a session and do it at the end of a session. It's so much more powerful. The bowls are just so much more forceful and powerful at the end
Amazing.
because they all start resonating with the bowl and they're focused on the bowl, you know, and it boils down to frequency and energy, like the double slit experiment. When you put your focus on something, you know, you'll capture it into your energy. You'll manifest what it's doing.
Is it reasonable to believe that for Reiki, this is my understanding, when somebody does Reiki on somebody else, that they're just sending the energy and the energy goes where it needs to go? That just knows how it works. Is it sort of like that when you're doing a sound therapy session where you're playing and the energy is going to hit everybody the way it needs to hit them based on the frequency?
Yeah, well, you're working on, so if we're working on a solar plexus, then it's working on everybody's solar plexus.
Okay.
So sound therapy is a little more directed energy, whereas like when I do energy work, I'm just a facilitator. So I create the purified space for their energy to relax and be comfortable. And like when I do energy work, I'm pulling that energy through me. So we become one as a toroidal. So that toroidal that's around us, it's my purified energy is helping. So I'm already tuned because I tune myself before I go into my sessions. So I'm pulling their energy into mine and help facilitate the purification of their energy and to remove these blocks. Like if they have a block, I heat up. I've come out of rooms with my head soaked, my scalp soaked in sweat, and my back soaked in sweat because I'm pulling their blocks out and it's getting
Wow.
pulled through my energy.
So when you do a sound therapy session, let's say for a group, are you setting the intention? It's like, okay, people, we're doing a solar plexus sound healing today. That's what you do. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And we always talk, it's an hour sound therapy, but there's always talking before and after. So it's about a 2-hour thing every Monday. So like I always explain to them what we're doing, what we're going to be guided into, what they're going to be focused on. We do breath work through it too. I've been teaching them breath work. I teach them how to use their vagus nerve because that your voice is your own unique sound therapy, and people just don't know how to use it to keep everything balanced and right.
Fascinating talking with you, Michele. Like things I've heard bowls played before, was part of a session, never knew how it really, really worked. And also never knew that you've done this, 1,000 times. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
We had customer base from 6 different states that were coming up to when we were in West Haven at the big place. We had 6 different states coming to us.
Amazing.
Yeah.
For anybody that just wonders about this, look at it this way. You put on music for a reason. It makes you
Yeah.
feel better. Maybe it starts to heal you in some way. What is it? It's vibration. That's how music is delivered to our bodies and our soul. You're doing the same thing.
Yep. That's why Beethoven is so healing. Beethoven was done in 432 frequency. And that's why children get very relaxed around it. It's the frequency of the earth. And
432 frequencies, meaning 432 hertz, his music was based on?
Yes. Yep.
I just learned something today.
Yep.
Whoa.
It was to 432. Yep. A lot of today's music is tuned to 440. So it's a little different. The 432 is very very relaxing.
528 hertz, is that love?
528 is really good for willpower. It's very good for pain. Like the 396 is really good for love and heart chakra. So
this is cool.
I actually hooked up with a guy that creates sound tools, and we're collaborating. We're gonna do something big come spring. I have to take a trip down to North Carolina. I'm gonna be selling all of his sound tools, and they're all professional grade. Some of this stuff is better than what I have, and
Wow.
I've spent a lot of money on mine over the years.
I guess if somebody wants to call it experiment, expose themselves to it, there's plenty of things you could find, Spotify, YouTube, where people have created music, like you said, Beethoven, using certain sounds. A lot of times it won't even make sense to you. It's just like, it's just like a droney kind of thing, but the frequency is built in. I find I put it on after a while. I don't even know I'm listening to anything. It's sitting in the background.
That's because you start resonating with it. So if you start listening to the sounds like that, and say you go on YouTube and you're listening to a certain frequency and it's irritating you, it means you have a block. Where that frequency is trying to fix, there's a lack there, or there's a block there, and that's why it starts to irritate you.
I
And
have
that's
learned in 20 something minutes, I've learned so much about this, and I've talked to others before. You're like leaps and bounds past anybody I've ever connected with on sound healing. Wow.
my son, which is I adopted two boys, and my son, the older one, is highly autistic and had severe PTSD. We did sound therapy on him, and when he first came with us, he could not I was going to say stomach, which is actually true. It was the solar plexus bowl, which the solar plexus bowl is one of the most beautiful humming noises. He would tolerate all of the bowls except for that bowl, and all of his problems were in his stomach, because each chakra, like your solar plexus, is connected to your gallbladder, nervous system, and stomach. So he had severe problems in his nervous system and his stomach, and he could not tolerate that bowl. If I dinged it, he would run. He didn't want anything to do with it. So I had to keep working on him. And we did a lot of things to detox him and help him with his stomach. And then he started tolerating the bowl.
I am looking forward to finding different frequency music on different frequencies and see which ones don't sit well with me to identify that there's a block.
The six solfeggio. If you look up the master solfeggio sounds, those are the ones that you really want to tune into. And we're trying to develop something now to be able to play the two bowls and get it onto a recording where it goes into the one tone, because that tone is what you need. That's the healing tone. It's a key. The 369 are the bases of those bowls. Like there's 2 3 bowls, 2 6 bowls, and 2 9 bowls. When you take the numbers and put them down, it goes to a 3 bowl, a 6 bowl, or a 9 bowl, and there's 2 of each. So when you play 2 3s together, it's creating that toroidal of that frequency, and they cross over. And in that Vesta Pisces in the middle becomes that third sound, and that is the healing sound.
You're like an energy healing scientist.
God, I love science.
Oh my God. And I have a book. I still haven't read it yet. I'm like 12 pages in. I got to set the intent, and it's called the 369 Principle, Project 369. And it's about manifestation based on Tesla, which is what we're talking about, the 369. Wow.
Exactly. We built a generator that's a 369 based on the solfeggio sounds, and we used Wilhelm Reich technology and created a generator. It's really cool.
Yep, you're a mad scientist in a good way. How do we find you? What's the website for your center?
The website is stardustblessingsmetaphysical.com, and we're in Orange, Connecticut, 378 Boston Post Road in Orange. And you can also, TikTok is pretty much our jam. Thank God it's back. We're under Stardust Social 2.0. We're rebuilding our page. We had almost 100,000 people, and we got reported. I don't know for what. And it
just ask for a pardon, man. Everybody else is.
I tried. You can't get it. You can't get it to anybody but AI.
Right.
But we're rebuilding. We're under Stardust_magical.herbs. That one we go live on right now, and we're rebuilding Stardust Social 2.0.
And the Monday night sound sessions is found where?
That's on Patreon, and that's under Stardust_social.
Gotcha.
All of our social medias are Stardust Blessings and Stardust Social. So we're on Instagram under Stardust Blessings.
Got it.
Usually you can hit the hashtag and find us. We're the only ones that have that hashtag.
Fabulous talking with you, Michele. Learned so much. And I have a half-hour break here. First thing I'm doing is putting on some sound. I really am. Looking forward next time we get a chance to get together.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.